Hello there, my name is Enzo, and welcome to the Aesthetics of Play. But Enzo, I hear you ask, what are the aesthetics of play? What does that mean? Well, let me tell you, the aesthetics of play are essentially genres. They're categories that contain various different games, some even overlapping. They describe a core aspect of the game that talks about the reason why us, the players, want to go play that game. Whether it's the amazing sights and sounds of that brand new indie game, or it's asserting your dominance by smashing your bros. All of this and more will be explained, so stick around. You might learn something. Sensation, also known as game as sense pleasure, is an aesthetic that describes games that give the player great audio and visual experiences. This is best seen in the 2017 indie hit Cuphead, with its old 1930s style rubber hose animation and its orchestral sound pack to boot. It's well deserving of the title, one of the best. Fellowship, also known as game as social framework, is an aesthetic that talks about games in which you, the player, are tasked with working alongside either an NPC or another player. These games like to tap into the natural human instinct to want to form a pack and be together, whether it's to fight off an enemy or work towards a common goal. Either way, you're doing it with them, they're doing it with you. A great example of this is a Nintendo Switch game called Snipper Clips, in which you and your friends work together, cutting each other into pieces to solve puzzles and progress through the world. Hey, you mind giving me a little snip snip? Oh, sure, no problem. Thanks. Challenge, also known as game as obstacle course, is an aesthetic that talks about games in which you, the player, have to overcome some sort of obstacle in your path. This could be anything from completing a challenging level or simply beating your high score. A good example of this is the game Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, in which you, the player, are stuck in a cauldron with a sledgehammer, trying to climb a mountain. You can't die, and there is no score. There's only climb and fall. Yeah! Expression, also known as game as soapbox, is an aesthetic that describes a game in which you, the player, have some input, some way to express yourself through this game. Whether it's designing your character, designing your map, or some other third thing. It's all input from you. My perfect example of this is Minecraft, a game in which you can do almost anything. You can play with friends, you can fight monsters, you can explore the new world, you can even beat a story. But at the end of the day, the way in which that happens is up to you. Discovery, or game as uncharted territory, is an aesthetic that describes games in which the player gets to traverse their world, finding new things constantly. Whether it's a new item, a new recipe, or even a new landmark in their world. It's always new, new, new. An example of this being Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a wonderful game in which the player gets to play as Link and explore a vast, fantastical world. Finding weapons, finding people, finding mountains and valleys and castles, and even Korok seeds. Submission, also known as game as mindless pastime, is an aesthetic that describes a game that has no value other than to pass the time. It provides the player with no mental stimulation and no real reward. It's a game that you play when you've come back from like a long day of work or a long day of school, and you don't want to think, you just want to get something done. So you sit down and you start playing. It doesn't tax your mind, it doesn't tax your body, but the time is passing and you're having fun. A great example of this is a game like Cookie Clicker. You just sit there clicking cookies. That's it. More. More! 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 I forgot to record an outro. So, when I finished recording, I didn't think it would end off on much of a cliffhanger, but it turns out it did. It ended off in a huge cliffhanger of sorts, where it just cuts off. There's no real, closure to, the whole video. So, I'm kind of just recording this mid-editing to just stay, hey, the video's over, and that's all you really need to know. I hope it was fun to watch. I got to use my green screen for the first time, which was really interesting, and I learned a lot. And hopefully you learned a lot about the aesthetics of play. And if you didn't learn that much, feel free to ask. I'm a lot better at explaining things in person than I will ever be on paper or video. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to close off the video. So, thanks for watching. See you guys later.